Seems to be, and I'm catching up rapidly now that I've fallen head over heels, and you're that next author that I have to read everything that you've written. So somebody send me a copy of the Teddy Saga 2. Come back, I'll have questions about all of the books I haven't got to yet. But it seems like, just glancing, that's kind of a common theme through some of your work. I know you've got another one about some boys who are torturing an alien, where the question is kind of how bad is too bad to accomplish some good. So is that pretty common with characters that you like to torture in that way?
Yeah. I mean, one of my, and this is not something you set out to do in a career, but if you look at my books, one thing that does seem to pop up again and again is my interest in protagonists who are going to challenge the reader, who aren't going to be fully good at all. They're going to do things that, as a reader, you're going to question, and you're going to, and maybe in a book like Ben Heavens, which is the book about the alien, you're going to, ideally, if I do my job well, you're going to almost become complicit in it. Like, you're going to find yourself empathizing and rooting for a character, and then when they do bad things, you're going to have to try to grapple with that and say, is this okay? Is this okay that I'm still rooting for this person because of what they're doing now? And that's really interesting to me. And Teddy's, they threw us away. It doesn't go anywhere near that far. The Teddys are always going to be our basically good protagonists, but they will change, and they will do things that seemed impossible for them to do when they began with their life in the trash dump, when it seemed like they could only do good things. They could only smile and hug each other. Like, that's going to change.
Yeah, that seems to, without spoiling, that seems to change almost immediately.
Yeah,
right off the bat.
Yeah, well, I mean, they come to life in a very dangerous place. The garbage dump is filled with not only dangerous trash, but attacking garbage gulls and all sorts of vermin at night. So they were built to be in safe bedrooms and safe playrooms, and they suddenly are thrust into this environment that they are not equipped for, and then they're going to have to journey into the city. This is a very urban book. All three of them are. They're going to have to journey into the gritty city, where things are only going to get more dangerous for very vulnerable creatures like teddy bears.
So, we'll follow up on that in a moment. I did want to ask just a little bit about the world building, because right off the bat, there's some things that struck me as there's clearly a backstory here, which we're beginning to get revealed to us as we go on. Some of the Teddies, Reginald seems to know a little bit more than the other Teddies, or at least seems to think he does, although he's hilariously wrong right off the bat, which made me love him all the more. With his thoughts on the meaning of TM that he wisely proclaims to be not trademarked. But the Teddies can read, and they know some things about the world. They just, the similes they make, they're thinking of wolves. So I think when it's the bulldozers that are coming through the dump. Okay, so they have some knowledge of the outside world, but they don't have full knowledge of themselves. It's selective what they know about. And so when you're doing that outline at the beginning, are you sitting down and writing down all the rules and all the backstory to some degree, so you know that going in from page one?
Yeah, I did it to some extent, and then in editing I had to really do it, because to some degree I was writing from the seat of my pants when in regards to the Teddy's rules, and that came back to bite me once the book was done and the rules were inconsistent. So one of the biggest challenges of editing this book was just to get all of that in order and to make sure the Teddies had a consistent consistent array of what they knew, what they didn't know, and all things of that kind. It required a lot more rules than I would have expected, and I think going into it, I was a little naive, since this was my first middle grade book, maybe thinking that I can just kind of wing this on. I didn't think that as far as plot structure and character went, but I thought as far as like backstory went, these are teddy bears. How complicated could it be? Well, it was more complicated than I thought. Like, especially because their backstory is rather complicated. There is a lot to the backstory that is given out in chapters that serve as clues that are parceled out through the first 2 books at least. So I really had to get all my ducks in a row so that I knew when and how to introduce new information via these flashbacks.